whatever you hear on any platform at all, if it's not this one, regarding Diddy, completely and totally and absolutely, just disregard it. Disregard it. I am telling you right now, disregard it, because what we are seeing is something I have never seen before. We are hearing people talking about the salacious facts of the case and forgetting it's a trial. Does that make any sense to you? They're forgetting that it's a trial. They're thinking this is an article they're writing, or can we think of bad things to say? And when it comes to, I've got to be very careful regarding the particular algorithms here, but anything regarding undonism and the like, it never ceases to amaze me. Yet I say again, with absolutely no hesitation, they really don't have any consideration or concern for the trial, for the rules of evidence, for strategy. They're talking about he wears a sweater, he holds a Bible. There were people who were going to be saying about sex workers who did things to Cassie, who were ordered to do things to Cassie. Okay. What does this have to do with the case at hand? That's what we're going to be talking about. And if there's one thing that you need to understand, it's that what we think about him and his life and his sex life and this has nothing to do with the fact of whether he's in charge with the Mann Act, bringing people over state lines for the purposes of prostitution. Number two, actual sex trafficking, force, fraud, or coercion, to bring something about not just to have sex with people, and also to have a racketeering enterprise, this bad boy enterprise or something that was used theoretically to involve itself in, I guess, this I don't know what the word is, but to how do I say this, to think of this as almost like John Gotti or something bigger. Not just, they never charged John Gotti or others with gambling or being degenerate gamblers or even, killing somebody. But it was a part of a racketeering enterprise, predicate acts and the whole bit. It's bigger. And so far, nobody seems to be interested in that. I am. If you want to charge him with crimes against Cassie Ventura, charge him. They're setting themselves up and they're setting him up for a walk. So I've got for you his trial strategy, what he has to do to maintain his case. What's the theory? What's the argument? What's the policy? What is he talking about doing? This is the thing which is the most interesting. This is which to me is the most fascinating. And this is what I want to talk to you about. Not what everybody on other shows are discussing. This is Lionel Nation. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you are paying close attention. And remember one thing, as we say all the time, even though things are looking terrific regarding President Trump and what's going on in the world, there are still opportunities that the radical left and the bad guys are trying to implement and will implement to do anything to derail our success. Bet on it. Bet on it. And now, my friends, this very critical word involving emergency. Let me ask you a question. What happens when the trucks stop? Think about this. Trucks, the trucks that bring your food, and then when one store closes because of a riot or ransomware hit or a hurricane or even manufactured weather. Oh yeah, we've talked about that. What happens when all of a suddenly the entire supply chain collapses like dominoes? What happens then? We've seen it happen, and it doesn't take much. And that's the thing you've got to think about. A trucker strike, a cyber attack, some EMP, some Carrington-class disaster, a city shut down by violence. It only takes one spark for shelves to go empty fast. And when that happens, and when that moment hits, you either have what you need or you don't. And that's why I am telling you. I want you to go to preparewithlionel.com. Our trusted friends at My Patriot Supply. They're offering unbelievable deals right now. You've got to see deals on emergency food kits that could save your life and your sanity. Over 2,000 calories per day. For 3 months of food per person, shelf stable for 25 years, in any kind of combinations you want, and made to taste like actual meals, not cardboard, not some military MRE. These kits aren't just insurance, they're peace of mind. So go to preparewithlionel.com, secure your kit, secure your future. Preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com, because when the world breaks down, the prepared don't panic. Let's go through this. Now, I think most people are smart enough to understand and grasp the notion of what it means to follow the actual, true, believe it or not, the courtroom machinations. Not just what we think, not whether we like him or not. That's another story. That's the part. I was listening to this, and I'm, for example, do you think it matters that he is clutching a Bible? Do you think it matters that he is clutching a Bible, that he's holding a Bible, that a Bible is a part of his? Do you think so? Do you think so? Do you think that they're going to say, I'm going to find him either guilty or not guilty, based upon his holding a Bible? Anybody? So why are they talking about it? Because they have nothing to say. They have nothing to say. They have nothing to say. So what I'm telling you, and what I think is the most important, what I think is the most critical, and what I think he should be doing, is something which is based on trial strategy and remembering what we're trying to do here. I want to either acquit or get a hung jury. But what I want is reasonable doubt. I want reasonable doubt. I don't care about anything but reasonable doubt. Raul says, as far as I can tell, Diddy is safe and clear. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. But could very well be. Could very well be. Let's look at what we've got here. Let's look at the story here, shall we? Very, very important. Very, very important. Let's look at the stuff that's possible. Now, what do we need to do? First, if Diddy's team wants to all but guarantee his acquittal, here's the playbook that they'll likely run. And it's straight out of high stakes defense manual. It's trial law. It's not TMZ or whatever it is. The first thing is, remember, tell the jury and have them understand what their goal is. What their goal is not to pass judgment on his sex life, his lifestyle, whether he's a misogynist. No. It's a little different. Frame every accusation by smothering the narrative. Frame every accusation as old news, rehashed allegations, targeted smear, but not racketeering, not trafficking, not violation of the Mann Act. You can say he is here because this is a smear campaign against a black entrepreneur, and the prosecution hopes that you will not be able to understand the difference. Push the celebrity witch hunt attitude. Push this narrative hard. The media will lap it up, paint the prosecution as desperate, racially motivated, or politically pressured. And if you think that the media are not important, or that the media are not critical, or that the media are not a critical aspect of the entire case, you don't know anything about this. You don't know anything about this. The media set a tone that, believe it or not, can even leach into these things. Now, Aggressively challenge every piece of evidence as either inadmissible, mishandled, or somehow tainted by bias. Okay? This is the most important. Leverage Federal Rule of Evidence 403 to argue that anything remotely prejudicial, video, shots, hearsay, whatever, has more emotional impact than probative value. Throw mud at the process, not just the evidence. Also, as many motions in limine, you want to preserve the record. You want to make sure you give that appellate court so much to work with. Set up ahead of time error that you know will occur and then exploit it. Next, neutralize witnesses. Diddy's lawyers are going to surgically dissect the backgrounds, the motives, the contradictions of every accuser. Expect them to dig up years-old tweets and texts and financial disputes and prior lawsuits to destroy credibility. Ask how people who were like sex workers and the like, how are these people there? What kind of a credibility does a sex worker have? Oh, you did this to Cassie? Yes. Did she consent to it? And if she didn't, were you granted immunity by the prosecution? Did somebody tell you, don't worry, you better testify or you might be involved because your job of pleasing Diddy may actually result in other aspects of this. Control the jury psychology. Keep Diddy visibly calm, buttoned up, buttoned down, remorseful but firm. Have him sit there. Know how to look between the witnesses. Don't laugh. Don't act. Don't look petrified. Look like a person who feels that he's done nothing wrong, that he has a faith in the jury system, but understand this is like church, but beyond this. Do you understand this? This is the most important part. His public image is critical. Planned out, doubt, planted, doubt. You're wondering, I don't feel good about this case. I don't know. That's the idea. Don't be too hard, but you want the jury at the end to say, you know what, I just don't know. And then go through each case ultimately and ask them, do you know whether there's been any evidence or any proof of such and such? Play the long game. Delay, dismantle, distract. Stretch the process. Motions. Set, preserve the record. Preserve the record, meaning you're going to win maybe on appeal. You're going to be able to say, I objected to this, I objected to that. I did a motion in limine. A motion in limine is when you, ahead of time, ask the court to rule, do not let this in. Do not let this information in. Do not let. That's what's critical. That is what is absolutely, positively, 100% critical. More than anything you can imagine. That is what's critical. That's what has to be done. I'm telling you right now, I am explaining to you that if this is done correctly, if this is done, now there's other things too. Diddy cannot testify. He's not smart enough. He doesn't understand the facts of the case enough. He doesn't even understand kind of what they're doing there. I would also question, leave your family at home. They look kind of like the black Kardashians and your mother with the blonde wig. It doesn't. I don't think it's that critical, but it plays a little bit of a role. Part of a role. What's critical now for everybody to understand is that this is not about, you don't have to prove anything. You absolutely, positively, 100% have to understand and critically think and critically evaluate. I mean this. Critically evaluate everything that's going on, not in terms of what you believe as a layman, but what you believe as a lawyer. Let me explain what the bottom line is. I'm a firm believer when it comes to closing arguments. Closing arguments are the most important. Remember, there may be some reversible error in terms of what was stated during the opening statements. Opening statements are a guideline. My favorite phrase to explain an opening statement is for those of you wonderful people who ever put together puzzles. And puzzles are interesting because when you put together actual pieces of puzzles, you look at them and you ask yourself, I don't know what these pieces are. What am I doing? That's why you go to the box. And on top of the box is a picture of the finished product. Oh, this is what the evidence will show. And in every opening statement, you always have the evidence will show. The evidence, ladies and gentlemen, the evidence will show, the evidence will show. And when this prosecutor says the evidence will show, remember, he's got to prove it, not you. I can't say that enough. You're going to have to say to him, okay, all right, let me explain to you what's happening here. Pay very, very close attention to what's happening. Number one, more than anything else, you're telling and you're promising the jury that you're going to put these things on, which in and of themselves are prejudicial. They have nothing to do with, remember, violation of the Mann Act, crossing state lines for prostitution. Number two, trafficking, which is force, fraud, and coercion. And number three, racketeering enterprise. They have nothing to do with this. Nothing. So you remember what they said. You tell the jury repeatedly, this is what they said they would promise, and they promised, and they didn't do it. They didn't come through. That's number two. And number three, later on, you sit there and you ask the judge, why did they bring this up? And object. Preserve the record. If you do not object, if you do not leave a record, if you do not leave a record that is intact, you're wasting your time. You are wasting your time. You hear what I'm saying? You are wasting your time. Because if you don't object, you waive the objection on appeal. An appellate court is not going to ever let you, unless the error alleged is so egregious. But the appellate court is going to say, did you object? No. Well, what are you coming to me for? You didn't object then. Why do you object? First of all, it's timely. Maybe the court can correct it. Maybe the court can do something. Maybe the court can figure out some way to arrest a cautionary instruction. But if you don't object, you waived it. And you can't take it up on appeal. So it may be unnerving. And that's why during the voir dire, somehow, federal court's different. You got to ask people. You got to tell them, listen, I'm going to be objecting like a mother. You got that? It's nothing personal. I don't want you to hear everything. And lawyers have to be straight on, flat out. You have to say, listen, I don't want you to hear everything. I'm telling you right now. I don't want you to hear everything. I'm here about these cases. Their job is to talk about everything, but I want you to say this because I'm telling you right now. What we say is the evidence will show that when you go back into that jury room after, you'll say, I know a lot about him. I don't like him. I don't like this lifestyle. I don't like maybe people find their sexual behavior, problematic or whatever, but that's not what they're going to do. Juries are very good about this. Let me give you an example of something. We were one of the few prosecutions ever who actually brought cases for believe it or not, obscene phone calls. I know this is so far back. And that's pretty tough. That's tough to prove because we didn't have, caller ID. You had to go through the pen register. It was a pain in it. And the number two thing is we had obscenity. We had obscenity like you cannot believe. I one time had a box of porn, me, in my car, that all these tapes that I had to bring home. It was horrible. And they're so boring. And I thought the jury would sit there and they of course would watch. And my heart wasn't in it. Thank God. There was never a conviction. It was we didn't think about it. So the jury started off at first saying, oh my God, some of these people had never seen porn in their life. Never. They never saw it in their life. Ever. It was the wildest thing anybody's ever seen. So to make a long story short, they would sit there in court and say, oh my God, this is incredible. This is terrible. This is awful. Okay, fine. So what happens is, this is kind of sort of interesting. There is after they saw this, after they, saw one and then another and another, they got bored. They just got tired of it. And whatever they're thinking, is this film or video, whatever, taken as a whole, does it laps, LAPS, literary, artistic, political, or scientific value? Is it so horrible that we as a jury come forward? And the answer is they would say no. Why? Because it's boring. It's boring. I never knew how boring this would be. Absolutely, positively boring. And that's what I think and I hope will happen. So what I think will happen, I think what they're hoping is the following is this. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you something. I appreciate the fact that you sat through this. I thank you for that. You have been, you were compelled and summoned, but we want you to know that we appreciate the fact. And I know you were paying attention because I watched your expression. And on behalf of my client, Mr. Combs, we want to thank you for this. And I want you to know this is embarrassing. And we know that you have understood from the beginning. And I want to give you this analogy, ladies and gentlemen. I call this my arson investing. And I've told you this before. I would say, I want you to imagine that I put on all this evidence. One horrible story about another. A sex party. A woman kicked. Sex workers. All this stuff. And you're thinking, oh my God, this is horrible. And then I say to you, now, you know what they're charging him with? Arson. What? Arson. Arson. Yeah. Well, why did they put this evidence on? I don't know. Well, that has something to do with it. Are you able to go into that jury room and say, I find him not guilty of arson? There wasn't even a fire. Sure I can. Yeah, but don't you understand what happened with Cassie? Well, I might understand what happened with Cassie, but I'm still okay, fine. Are you sure that yes? Arson? Yeah. They charged him with arson? That's what I want you to say. And that's what you will say regarding this. You'll say, this guy is a bad guy. I don't like him. I don't care for him. I don't like that lifestyle. I don't like these people. But there was no violation of the man. Where are women crossing state lines for prostitution? Where he's a pimp? It was his assignation? Where's that? What does beating or kicking Cassie have to do with bringing women or people over cross lines? Huh? That's number one. Number two, force, fraud, or coercion to do what? To engage in this behavior? Did you hear anybody who was forced? Did that sex worker who was involved with this, was he forced? Was he the victim of fraud to get there in the first place, to do these terrible things on, towards, or at, or with Cassie? Anybody? Did you hear anything about that? I didn't. Did you? I never heard anything about that at all. Nothing. Nothing. Well, why is he here? I don't know. How about the racketeering enterprise? How about the racketeering enterprise? How about this thing called this racketeering enterprise where people were basically coerced, cajoled, wheedled, fraudulently misled into variety. Huh? Huh? What are you talking about? All I know is it was a party. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, there's something, pardon my French, it's called bullshit. And there are people in the business who, when they see a woman they like, a young woman, they will promise her the stars. She will be a star. She will be one of these, this huge star. She will be. This has been going on since Louis B. Mayer. This has been going on since Charlie Chaplin. The casting couch. This is not racketeering. This is not trafficking. This is no more trafficking than somebody at a bar trying to pick up some chickie, feeding her a line of whatever it was either. It doesn't matter. This is overcharged. And what we're asking you, and we know you're going to do this because you've been listening, is we're going to ask you to return a verdict of not guilty, not because you like him, not because he's great, not because he's a beautiful person, not because you like his lifestyle or his music or him or anything else. No. We want you to return, or you will return a verdict of not guilty because they didn't prove their case. They could have charged him with anything in the world they wanted. Arson, trafficking, Mann Act violation. They could do whatever they want, but they didn't. They charged him with this instead. Why do you think that is? I don't know. I do not know. This is the thing which is important. And so you go on, and they were hoping the whole time, ladies and gentlemen, they were hoping, oh, you're going to see wait till Cassie comes out pregnant. What does that have to do with anything? Well, some terrible things. There was some evidence that Diddy might have tried to do harm to her her father of a kid, or whatever it was. Do you think, oh my God, you're opening yourself up to unbelievable error. Unbelievable. So now you're saying you're saying that Diddy was going to do this guy harm. You never charge him with anything? And that's another thing they do. Prior bad acts. This is what they did with Harvey Weinstein. This is what they did with Harvey Weinstein. This is what they did. This is what they do. They throw everything at the wall, so to speak. They hope something sticks. They hit you with everything under the sun, and they want you to know. And yet, when you watch these stupid, I'm not going to mention them, but some of these courtroom, I don't think anybody's ever tried a case in their life. Lawyers should be going crazy. Like, what does this have to do with anything? I don't care if it's Ted Bundy or him or anybody else. You've got to show. What is the evidence of this? If you put somebody on that says, my name is so-and-so, we would go and we would bring women in. We would charge them. We would bring them in and basically sell them as human chattel, as prostitution. I was in charge of transporting them. We would. Okay. All right. What about forced fraud or forced fraud or coercion? He would take people as evidence. He would go in there. We knew this. We would go people and we would lure them. And once they came in, we would nab them. We would hold them. We would forever keep them. In our grips, which is kind of what they tried to do with Ghislaine, but that was another one. That was another case too. And where are they? Where exactly are they? This is the most important. Trafficking of what? I don't understand. What is this trafficking? Trafficking doesn't mean where is this? Where is this? And the racketeering, again, a conspiracy. So the charges don't make any sense. Now you can argue all day. You can ask, why do you think they're going after him? I don't know. Must have pissed somebody off. That's not a legal argument, but it's a practical argument. You might be asking the question, why is he even here? Why is he even here? What are we doing? What does this case involve regarding him? I don't know. I don't know why they did. This was the Biden administration. Do you know all of the people that are able to be tested? I mean, this this is, so that's not my job. I can sit here and I can pretend. Many of you great people will say, why do you think they killed Epstein? What do you think, or what were they? I don't know. I can tell you stuff. I can give you all kinds of great, theoretically fascinating stuff. But let me tell you something. It's not what you think. It's a very brutal case. It depends upon the evidence, who says what, if you can object, get through evidentiary issues, and also whether you charge them with the right thing. Now, if you've got people who come out, maybe they're just throwing, and by the way, if they have something else, they're risking reversal on appeal by virtue of what they are doing. And this is so critical. By virtue of what they are doing, by virtue of how they are risking this and going through all this other nonsense, they're very seriously risking losing this case completely. Don't worry. On appeal, I don't know what this judge is. I don't even know why Diddy wasn't even granted bail. You think that he can't threaten anybody? He's got to be. I just don't understand. The Eighth Amendment prevents cruel and unusual punishment. It provides for bail. He's not convicted. Why? This idea that, he'll harm people. Harm people? This goes back to Sheriff Joe Arpaio. People love Sheriff Joe Arpaio, except the fact that Joe Arpaio apparently does not understand the difference between prison and jail. Jail is where you put people awaiting trial. That's a different story. So understand something. When you listen to me talk about this, I'm not here to explain to you anything about, do I like Diddy? Is he okay? No, that's not about that at all. Do I? No. His lifestyle, whether he use lube or oil, what particular acts of, you can go through it, every particular type of orifice was violated. It has nothing to do with this. Nothing. If they bring up animal sacrifice, arson, a Baphomet belonging to, Bohemian Grove, Building 7, I don't care. That might be interesting. That might be pertinent. That might be kind of titillating. But that has nothing to do with the charges that were alleged. Simple. And it happens all the time. I don't know where this, and people are saying, well, Comey's daughter was, okay, whatever. That's these little tangential things that we go off. I want to make sure he gets a fair trial. That's what I do. I'm a lawyer. I took an oath of the Constitution. I believe in it. I don't care who it is. There's no such thing as, there's certain tiered justice. There's justice for you, justice for me. Maybe. No, it doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. Raul says, I watched 0 Day cyber attack on De Niro's mind. Yes, it's very interesting. And he was also very interesting because he really is not an actor. He doesn't phone it in. But it's worth watching. It really is worth watching. So remember, most people, I got to say something. And this is the most important thing in the world. Everybody's going to throw everything at you but the facts. Everybody today, especially on social media, they want to weigh in with something. Doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It doesn't matter at all. They want to make sure that they weigh in with something that is, for lack of a better word, kind of interesting or titillating or contumacious or I don't know. But that's precisely what they want to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is precisely what they want to do. So, my friends, I want you to listen very carefully. Accept my absolute respect and thank you for watching. Please like this video. Please. It puts us into a whole other realm. Make sure you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. July 19th at the Cutting Room in New York City. Go to lionelmedia.com. Has all the information for you. I appreciate it immensely. lionelmedia.com. That's my website. Get that. Be there. When people say, are you going to put it on? Are you going to run a live version of this? No. Why would anybody want to come see it? Do you know anybody who does that? No. Does Tim Pool do that? Or Jimmy Dore? With my good friend Anthony Cumia? No. Why? Why would I film the thing? And what would be the point of people saying, I don't want to go, I just get it for free? I mean, I hate to bring it, but say, what? No. I think you can understand what I'm saying. So anyway, lionelmedia.com, July 19th. Also, sign up for the newsletter as well. And thank you for watching. Have a great and a glorious and a wonderful day. Stay positive, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you something. The internet, as you know, social media are filled with miserable people all over the place who have nothing to say and nothing better to do. The best thing to do is ignore them, but focus on the positivity of truth. That's all I want to do. It's truth. Don't let people get you down. Don't ever just ignore them. Because the moment they got a rise out of you. It's a waste of time. All right, my friends, have a great and glorious day. Don't forget to follow Lynn's Warriors as well. Don't ever change. Well, remember, I've got a bunch of videos dropping today, so pay attention. Lionel Nation, make sure you subscribe. And don't forget, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Da-da.